I mentioned in a couple recent videos that the vibe from Team Wilder has noticeably changed over the past couple weeks. A quite dramatic change, because they are now being a lot more positive about the Anthony Joshua undisputed fight, which is obviously very encouraging for me as a boxing fan. Now, Shelly Finkel recently was talking to the media, and he said the following about the Tyson Fury rematch and also the AJ fight. He said, these two fights are too important for the fighters and the sport. They both will happen. When it's ready, a fight will be made. Bob will make a fight with us. That's not an issue. We can do something with DAZN also. They are not issues. There is not an issue with DAZN. There is not an issue with making the fight. Instead of dictating, it's not going to work. I've had a very, very good rapport with John Skipper. I believe the fight will happen. I believe the fight will happen with John. And I'll work with Eddie and Barry at the time. I'm going with John on June 1 to the fight of Joshua. Joshua didn't come to Deontay's fight against Brazil. He was in New York or around here. So there's no reason for Wilder to go to Joshua's fight. So those are the words of Shelly Finkel, Deontay Wilder's co-manager. So definitely more positive. But again, pay attention to what he said about the fight will happen when it's ready to be made. To me, that just seems as though Team Wilder are the ones delaying making the fight now. They're trying to build Wilder up a little more. They just feel like it's not ready right now in terms of the business. And they have to be disappointed in terms of the numbers that Deontay Wilder did for the Brazil fight, because I talked about how Wilder was exposed in the Brazil fight in terms of the purse that he got, and also exposed in terms of the viewing figures and the attendance. Yes, exposed. Why? Because before the fight, right after Wilder turned down the DAZN deal, Espinoza said Wilder would be criticized less if people knew his purse, because he turned down essentially 20 million to face Brazil on DAZN. And Espinoza responded by saying, well, if you knew his purse, you wouldn't be so critical. Well, the fact that he wouldn't disclose Wilder's purse or Wilder wouldn't disclose the purse told you all you needed to know, even before the Brazil fight took place. But Espinoza said that the amount Showtime were paying Wilder for the Brazil fight was in the same ballpark or close to what he was being paid or he was being offered by DAZN for the Brazil fight. We now know that that's not true. 10 million is not close to 20 million. It's half. So no, it wasn't in the same ballpark. It wasn't close. They were exposed on that front. Extraordinary. A fighter turning down double his money for the same opponent. Absolutely bizarre. And then, of course, when Deontay Wilder and his team are running around saying that he's the biggest name in the sport, he's the biggest name in the heavyweight division, and he can't even pull 1 million viewers on regular Showtime, exposed again. If you were the biggest name in the heavyweight division, you'd be pulling way more than 1 million viewers on regular Showtime. You'd be pulling 3-4 million viewers on regular Showtime. You couldn't even pull 1 million. And I've heard some people say, oh, well, it's because there was a basketball game on, or it's because the fight only lasted, less than 3 minutes. It was only a round long. No. That's not an excuse. Because everybody knows that when a fight is on, you don't tune in after round one. Most people have tuned in before round one has started. When AJ fights, what you think everybody waits until round 2 or 3 before they tune in and watch? No. Most of the people, the majority of people, tune in while AJ's walking to the ring. If not before. Most of them probably watch the undercard. But certainly the peak viewership is going to be, right around the time AJ's getting into the ring, when they're making the announcements before the fight starts and what have you, the preliminaries. People are watching from at least then, if not further down in the undercard. So don't give me that rubbish about, oh, people didn't get a chance to see it. What kind of fans are they if they're not tuning in to watch Wilder fights until round 2, 3, or 4? What a load of rubbish. Wilder was exposed. His team were exposed. They said this guy was the biggest draw in the heavyweight division. That's how Wilder's been carrying on. That's how his team has been carrying on, which is absolutely outrageous to be coming out with rubbish like that. And the numbers simply don't back it up. They simply don't. So he was exposed on that front, exposed on the purse front. I hope to God that Wilder and his team start getting a little more realistic. Yes, they've been able to push up these offers from Eddie Hearn and DAZN, from AJ, etc. They've been able to push the offers up and up, but you can only push the offers up so much. Eddie Hearn himself was shocked by how low the viewing figures were for AJ versus Brazil, how low the attendance figures were. For Wilder versus Brazil, not AJ versus Brazil. Yeah, Hearn was shocked by how low the attendance and viewing figures were for Wilder versus Brazil. He, like myself, assumed that Wilder's profile would have been massively boosted from the Ortiz and then the Fury fights, but evidently not. Very, very strange stuff. So look, I always have to end these videos by telling you guys that I rate Deontay Wilder as a fighter highly. I think this is one of the most destructive punchers I've ever seen in a boxing ring. And I mean that. This guy's power is ridiculous. And even though he's gangly and unorthodox and he's not the most polished boxer you've ever seen, he's effective. Even against a much slicker fighter, a much cleverer fighter like Tyson Fury, he managed to catch him in the end. And he was, a second away from winning the fight in the 12th? If Fury had just stayed on that canvas a second longer, that would have been it. So I rate Wilder as a fighter. But the way his team are maneuvering, the things that they come out with, it's just such nonsense. It's incredible. And here's the thing with me. I want the undisputed fight. That is my desire. That is what I want to see manifest into physical reality. And anybody who I perceive to be getting in the way of the undisputed fight, delaying it, stopping it from happening, particularly if the reasons, at least in my view, are not valid or unnecessary, then I'm going to criticize that person. I'm going to criticize whatever party is preventing the undisputed fight from happening. And at this moment, it appears to be Team Wilder. Stephen Espinoza, Shelley Finkel, these people are delaying or preventing the undisputed fight, which is why I've been so critical of them. That's all. I'm a boxing fan who wants to see the best fight the best. I want to see an undisputed heavyweight champion. If it's going to be Wilder, if Wilder goes in there and chins AJ, fair enough. Proved it in the ring. I can't say nothing. I just want to see these two guys fight. But Wilder's team seem to be getting in the way of that right now. So I'm criticizing them all the time, obviously, because I want to put pressure through whatever little influence I have here on YouTube, on the internet. I want to encourage fans to put pressure on Team Wilder to make the fight happen. Yeah, again, they've driven up the offers from Eddie Hearn and DAZN, but there's only so far you can dry them up, particularly when you're coming off the back of really disappointing numbers for the Brazil fight. And I think even Hearn, in one of his recent interviews, mentioned the fact that, yeah, you can keep on longing it out, drawing the situation out and hoping to build and build and build and build the fight, but somebody could lose in the meantime. Boxing history shows us this, right? Lennox Lewis was supposed to fight Tommy Morrison. Morrison got knocked out by Michael Bent. Lennox Lewis was supposed to fight Riddick Bowe. This was after Riddick Bowe threw the green belt in the trash and Lewis became WBC champion. This is a couple years after that. Lewis was supposed to fight Riddick Bowe. They were talking about the fight. It was looking like it was going to get made. Then Lewis got knocked out by Oliver McCall. Then later on, in their careers. It looked as though Lewis Bowe could happen again. Bowe just had to get past Andrew Golota somehow. I mean, he got past officially on disqualification twice, but he got the absolute strudel beat out of him. To borrow a phrase from Don King, he got battered by Andrew Golota twice, and Lewis ended up fighting Golota instead of Riddick Bowe. So history in the heavyweight division shows us that these fights that get built and built and built can often get derailed because somebody ends up losing. Wilder said it ain't going to be like Lewis versus Riddick Bowe. I hope not. If you really believe that, Deontay, then you need to strike while the iron is hot. If you have any power over your career, you need to be telling your people, let's make the AJ fight now. Why are you letting them gas you that you're the biggest name in boxing when you can't even draw 1 million viewers? Like I say, Deontay is not the sharpest tool in the box. I was actually watching an interview with John Fury, a very interesting interview. Most John Fury interviews are interesting, right? But I was watching this John Fury interview that he did with Boxing Social a couple days ago. And he said the same thing about Wilder. He said he's not the sharpest tool in the box. He's really not, people. Wilder is just not a very bright guy. And the team around him are talking in his ear and manipulating him and getting him to believe all kind of nonsense, you know. Fantastic fighter, Deontay Wilder. Dangerous. I love that right hand. It's one of my favorite right hands in history. Wilder's right hand is one of them. I'm telling you, tremendous right hand. Love the way he throws it. The way he spun Dominic Breazeale's head around was beautiful. No disrespect to Breazeale, all right? But somebody's got to lose. So look, I love watching Deontay Wilder fight. I've never made no secret of that. I love his style. Even though it's wild and crazy and ungainly, I love his style. I remember Anthony Yard saying that Wilder brings the roads into the ring. He does fight like a street fighter a lot of the time. He has that kind of street fighter energy. You know, it's like watching somebody on World Star swinging it out in the hood. That's how Wilder fights. But I find it entertaining. You know, I like watching Deontay Wilder fight. I think it's cool. But yeah, from the business point of view, shaking my head most of the time, you know, is what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.